We're halfway through Paris Fashion Week, and today we're talking about the Comme des Garcons show. So it's obviously a very important, sort of quite poignant show in Paris. It's one that everyone looks forward to, and obviously a bit of a cult one. And I have an incredible set of panellists with me, a very lively panel, I'm hoping, who will introduce themselves, starting with you, Richard.
My name's Richard Mortimer. I'm the editor of Pony Step magazine.
I'm Princess Julia, and I work freelance at GQ Style and ID magazine.
My name is Brix Start, and I co-own Start Boutique with my husband, and I'm a fashion TV presenter.
I love that you guys all know each other, because that always makes for a slightly more riotous panel, so you can shed dirt on each other, which is good. And what have you guys been enjoying from this season so far? Not specifically Paris, just sort of across the season.
I think for me, Prada was a real highlight. I think Prada's generally always a highlight for me. I don't know, there's been just everything's been quite good this season. I've been, impressed.
Were you impressed with London?
Yes and no. I thought some of London was really, really, really strong and really slick, and I just thought some of it. I think some of the ideas are quite big, but I think the execution wasn't there in some things. But I think when London was good, it was really good.
Really
I think
good.
Jonathan Saunders and Giles were particular highlights for me, and Richard Nicol also was really, really strong.
Were they standouts for you as well, Brix? What struck your fancy?
Jonathan Saunders, not so much actually for me. Giles, yes, loved the styling, loved the whole feel of it. That was fantastic. I really liked Christopher Kane. I thought that was pretty damn good. And Richard Nicol, yes, liked that a lot. Liked his tailoring. I thought it was very, very good. There were a lot of low points for me as well. It was I
Give us some of your low points.
No. I won't say a bad thing about anybody, because everyone's trying so hard and being really artistic and creative, and there's going to be ups and downs. But I found it as a whole this season quite patchy, like really sort of divided between highs and lows. But that sometimes happens. Nothing's ever.
Well, I completely agree with that. I mean, what I was saying, when it is good, it was just really good. But there didn't seem to be the consistency that I think there's been in London before.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Would you agree with that, Julia? What was your
I
verdict?
loved the Medium Kirchhoff show.
Sure.
And I love Louise Gray's show.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved James Long's presentation. It was brilliant. And I loved the sibling. So I liked all those. I don't know, how would you describe
the colourful ones?
Well, Medium's not so. Medium
I think
that was really interesting. I thought that was really interesting.
The shoes.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Everything.
Everyone was tweeting, "Get them a job at Chanel," which I thought was really funny afterwards.
And I saw some pictures of Gareth Pugh's show in Paris, which I thought was just astounding.
Yeah, that was incredible.
It looked amazing, really, just beautiful, beyond.
And Cher was there.
This actually is really great that you mentioned Cher, because a big part of the questions that I wanted to ask you guys were about this kind of music element, because one thing that's interesting for me with Comme is I was talking to a friend who works in fashion before the stream today, and he was like, you have to ask them about when you see a brand like Comme, which everyone thinks as being really sort of intelligent and very sort of serious, and there's always this sense that it's on a higher plane to the rest of fashion, being worn by the boys in One Direction and things like that, and how we see fashion appropriated on a popular level, and how that changes a perception of a brand, or whether it changes it, because we all still maintain this idea that Comme is so intelligent and exciting, but then you also see Harry Styles wearing a Comme des Garçons play t-shirt.
But I don't think that, I might be wrong, but I would think that Harry Styles would buy the Comme des Garçons. I can't imagine, knowing their press office in Paris, I can't imagine that they would lend to One Direction. But I think that whole fashion snobbery thing is really, really bizarre, and I really think it's such an old-fashioned concept, and I just don't agree with it at all. I think it's really bad. I don't know what you think.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by fashion snobbery.
I think that fashion snobbery, we don't want to lend to this person.
Oh, that
or we don't
sucks.
Want to lend to this person.
Oh no,
they're not cool enough to wear our brand.
Well, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's shooting yourself in the foot, because someone like Harry Styles could wear a Comme jacket and make it look like a whole nother creature altogether, and make it more saleable to everybody, because people can see how you can wear it. And I think that one of the problems with Comme is that you look at it and it's so conceptual, it's such a piece of art that general punters, like as a buyer, you're like, how am I going to sell that? And it's really, it's a collection that you really, it's easy to wear if you break it up. Like I'm wearing my Comme drop crotch trousers, and I love them, but I'm wearing them in a kind of a grown-up, elegant way. But it's great when you break it up, and you can see how it works. And I think if someone like Harry wore that, then a whole new market could open up. So I think it's stupid, actually.
Do you think there are a lot of brands that still are really, really snobby?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And do you think that's... It seems to me, because especially in an internet generation, you have to move on from that, because you can't control your brand image in that way anymore. It is impossible to stop there's a really funny example where Abercrombie and Fitch kept trying to tell the guys from Jersey Shore to stop wearing their t-shirts. And there is this element where you just can't control that kind of... But it's interesting to me that Comme has maintained this vibe of being, so, as you said, artistic,
conceptual,
while also...
But I think a lot of that is because the runway show is so out there. It's so full on. It's not wearable stuff. And I think, everything is so well crafted, so well designed. The fabrics are amazing. And they've maintained this for what, 30 years?
Well, it's the runway show is like literally the purest divine inspiration. The other collections like Junior and Comme and Play are filtered down. So I always say the runway show is like direct from God, and the rest are the angels, And so those other brands are much more easier to buy into, but this is what it is. This is the pureness of it, and that's important.
But I think what's different with Comme is that sort of business model operates for every fashion brand. Yeah. But I think because Comme is so extreme in what they send down the runway, it's different. For example, Louis Vuitton, their collection is so high, the price point is so high, it's so expensive, but I mean, it feels and looks amazing. People can actually wear it, so if there are people that can afford that price point, they would go in and buy a Vuitton full look. But I think it's a really different kind of fashion person that would go in and buy a full look Comme.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think that's the big differentiation with Comme compared to other fashion brands.
It's interesting though, because when people talk about Rei Kawakubo, they don't talk about her as being a kind of incredible businesswoman. It's always about the creative side to her, which obviously, as we've all said, like the collections are incredible. But there is a sense, it's an incredibly successful business model of being able to roll out this really, really commercial stuff while also doing a collection like this. And it's almost a PR exercise, when you think about it. And I'm interested in sort of what you stock, Brix, in Start, because you stock a lot, the pouches and the stuff that's really, really taken off.
Well, we used to stock the clothes, but they were quite difficult to sell because a lot of people couldn't understand them. And you'd put together a look and they would kind of get it, but it would still be a little scary for the general public. It just takes somebody like Harry Styles to break that, so that I think it's a good thing. But anyway, we stock, the wallets, oh my God, all the scent, and like lots of little tidbits, and they are so popular because people can then buy into the brand and have a bit of pop of color or this and that. I mean, even the scent, I have to say, is almost like an oral, I guess that's the word, sculpture. Like, the scent is so creative. Like, do you remember the stuff they were doing that was like garage, tar, fake leather, all that? Some of it was so vile that you were like, oh my God, it touched me, and you'd be like reeking like this. But then I found out that, for instance, in Germany, their biggest selling scent was garage or tar or something, and that actually Ray would spray it on her sheets. They just think so outside the box, and everything that they do is so creative with very little filter. I don't think they worry about it. They just believe in themselves, back it up, and it works on many levels.
And do you think when people are buying them, I was interested, you say, they get a piece of Comme, are they buying into the brand? Is that why people come in, or is it just that they like that pouch and they think this is really cute?
No, they're buying into the brand, for sure. They know what they're buying. And if they're fans of the scent, they they go back for the scent again. And sometimes, but that's the easiest way to get Comme into people that don't know about Comme into Comme, by those little things as well. But basically they're buying into the brand.
This brings me to an interesting idea, which is buying into a brand. I was interested in sort of the first, if you guys could remember your first sort of interaction with Comme, whether it was just by becoming aware of the brand or whether it was buying a certain piece. Do you remember, Julia, when Comme entered your consciousness? It's quite a tough question.
Probably,
that one,
yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, the thing about Comme is that they have this sort of artistic slant to what everything's sort of quite conceptual. So it makes you sort of think about fashion and art.
Yeah.
I think that's their great melding point. And then so if you're wearing the clothes, you actually feel like you're wearing a piece of art.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get away with wearing one of these catwalk top of the range numbers, I mean, you really do feel artistic, don't you? You can enter.
But then you can also wear it in the way that Brix talked about, which I think that's what's so interesting.
Yeah, and then all these other things they do is t-shirts, perfumes, all the rest of it, the scarves, the collaborations. So all, you know, got this like fantastic art idea, and the art world, that's another story.
This is interesting because this brings me to a point I wanted to ask you, Richard, about kind of whether fashion should be artistic and serious, because I remember there's a brilliant quote in an editor's letter you wrote for Post. This is kind of meta that I'm quoting you back to you, but you said something and it was just like really pithy. You're like, oh, fashion, you know, it's about having fun, it's not about changing the world. It was something like that, and it got me thinking about, you know, what fashion should be and whether it should be serious and artistic, or whether, you know, there needs to be a sense of humour. And I thought how that's been married quite well in Comme, and I was interested in sort of where you stand on this artistic fashion.
I mean, I think it's really important to have an artistic element to fashion. You know, I think fundamentally that's what defines each brand, their different artistic expression. But I just think sometimes it does become, I think when everybody becomes so super serious about every single aspect of every single thing of the brand. I mean, you know, Saint Laurent, for example.
Yeah, good example.
It's just become almost so serious, and it's like, you know, you look at old Saint Laurent from the 70s, and actually it was quite fun. It was sexy. It was, and I just worry that sometimes in fashion now things become so serious, and it's like, guys, come on, the industry is serious enough. You know, let's just, you know, relax a little bit.
Why does the industry take itself so seriously? That's a huge question to ask three fashion people on a Saturday afternoon, but we'll give it a go.
Well, it's like that old phrase, isn't it? You know, the art world want to be as cool as the fashion industry, and the fashion industry always want to be taken as seriously as the art world. And it's that thing. I just think, I don't know. I just find it really bizarre that it is. I mean, it's a massive industry in terms of finance, and from that perspective I understand why it's serious. It is a proper business.
But we see a lot of humour in publications, like obviously Pony Step's a really great example of that, but also things like ID, GQ Style. Why aren't we seeing that more reflected in the way the industry conducts itself? Because we're even seeing it reflected in clothes now. You see that with, you know, Medium Kirchhoff, or even with
Louise.
Like
Louise Gray is the happiest clothing ever. You know, I defy anyone to sit in that audience watching her show without a smile on your face.
But then it's so bizarre that fashion people will be wearing Louise Gray but take themselves so seriously. And when is that kind of attitude that we're seeing in the magazines and in the aesthetic of brands going to filter through to how the industry conducts itself? I
think it is filtering through, actually, and I think it's kind of like sorting the wheat from the chaff, and you see these miserable fashion people that are so up their own butts, you know, and it's like, you know what, I don't even want to deal with you. I just want to be with like lovely people. And by the way, Richard Mortimer, I love you. And I love you, Princess Julia.
I love you too.
So you know, you just want to be around. Just want to be around people that are really enjoying what they're wearing and having a good time wearing it, because at the end of the day, the clothes that you put on your body are there to make you feel good and to empower you so that you can go out and present yourself in your own personal style and your own image to the world in the way that you want to be perceived. So why wouldn't you go for clothes that make you feel good and are happy? I mean, the Comme is hilarious, and I'm looking at that, and it's it's incredibly beautiful, especially that. Which
I love that one.
Number
on the
34, end. That one. That is like, it looks like from here, origami paper all put together in the most fantastic way, but also like a very creative homeless person who's glued magazine articles and photographs to their thing, and it's funny.
The eclecticism.
Yeah,
really
that's quite hilarious. It's marginal clown, but great.
So this is the opening. What do you guys think? Marginal
clown.
Yeah, I think that's a buzzword.
Marginal dog-tooth clown. Yeah.
But we were having a debate before the stream started about whether this was wearable. I kind of want to go back to that. I don't want to...
The jacket's wearable.
I think it's very wearable.
The shirt's wearable.
Yeah.
We're like picking it apart.
What's on the head? Is it a hat?
Yeah, it's
or
definitely...
Is it hair?
I think that's definitely...
I think it's a hat.
Please don't let it be her scalp.
But I don't know, I disagree. I don't think it is that wearable. I think it's brilliant for editorial. I think, you know, it's great. It would be great to shoot, but who would wear that?
We should give everything a Harry Styles rating.
I think, as we were saying before, you'd wear a piece, wouldn't you?
Yeah, only the jacket. I mean, if you put the jacket with like black skinny jeans and a white t-shirt and some biker boots, it might be okay.
But even
it's
then,
tough. I know it's tough.
I just think I can't imagine anybody wandering into Sainsbury's on a Saturday afternoon thinking, oh, I'll just pop that Comme number on.
Yeah, bustling in. I would.
But there's a lot. But this goes back to what we were saying, doesn't it? About, you know, we don't. If she had shown us something that you would want to go to Sainsbury's in on a Saturday afternoon,
there'd be no interest.
You wouldn't love it, exactly. No. Yeah.
But I think that's what is brilliant about Comme. You're not going into that show expecting to see, you know, wearable pieces. It's not Celine, you know. It's
I mean, you know, Philip and I, when we would go do the buying in Paris at Comme, you know, and there's all the different showrooms for all the different brands within Comme. And we'd go into the main Comme showroom where it's really hardcore and crowded, and all these pieces from the catwalk are then on mannequins and just hanging everywhere. And it's like going into a museum. I mean, these are really amazing pieces. And we'd go in there and we'd go like, oh my God, and we'd go around. But at the same time, we would be wringing our hands because we were like, how do we buy this? How do we buy this? How do we sell this? Because that would be like a vast fortune. It's not, you know, pocket money. It's serious. And so it is really hard to wear when it's at its most purest form like that, but it is the diffusions that are easier to buy into with bits of it. Like Comme is really good because it does take a lot from the, you know, elements of the main line, but then
it's a nice blend,
distill it really.
This raises such an interesting point for me. I'm conscious I keep moving away from the clothes, but we keep saying really interesting stuff about how a young designer can kind of impress while also building a business, because obviously when you're in a position like a brand like Comme, you know, you can have all those diffusion lines which sustain you, which bring in a lot of money while also doing something sort of hyper creative. But when you're a brand starting out, especially in somewhere like London, you know, you're trying to show off what you can do artistically while also trying to sell stuff, and you have to do it all in one show. How do you think that path should be navigated? No one knows the answer.
I think there's a lot to be said for all these high street collaborations that people are doing. Sure. I think, you know, the high street is helping young talent so much. You know, be it Giles at New Look or, you know, the numerous Topshop ones, you know, Mango have been involved, and I just think that's a really good way to do something that is more commercial. I mean, I look at Henry Holland's line at Debenhams, and you know, it sells in huge amounts.
He's such a good example of someone who's used collaborations to build a brand so successfully.
And you know, his Pretty Polly, that just flies out, and you know, that's really helped him establish a real business. And I think it really showed this season in London. Actually, I think his show looked really strong.
That's interesting. So this is almost this. Are we getting to that point where designers shouldn't actually be thinking that much about the catwalk as a business thing, other than as a way of showing off what they can do, but they should be looking for their sales elsewhere?
I don't think...
too cynical?
I think that's too cynical.
It's like making an album and then taking your single off it.
Okay.
That's what it is. Bringing it back to music. And by the way...
I like that music has to run through this discussion.
And by the way, when you asked the question about my first piece of Comme and how I...
Oh, do you remember?
Yeah, oh my God, yes. Let me tell you.
Okay.
It was when I was in the fall and we were on tour, and I used to save up my PD money. Like, they'd give you money to eat every day, and so you get maybe
What's PD money?
per diem. And when you're in a band, they give you whatever $50 a day for your like food. You get fed dinner, but then you keep your PD money when you're on tour. So I would keep it all in a plastic bag, and I would hoard it all up. We'd start touring in New York and go all the way through America and end up in LA for the final show, always in America. And I'd come to LA with like $2,000 stuffed into a bag, and I'd go immediately into this store called Comme de Garcons. I didn't even know what it was called, but I loved it, and it was like kind of near Beverly Hills, but not in Beverly Hills, kind of in Hollywood. And I just found this store and I loved it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to say it. Like, I avoided saying it because it was so embarrassing because I didn't know. And I go in there with my wads of cash in the bag and just buy a fabulous coat and wear it. And that was my first thing. And eventually, years later, when I met my husband, he taught me how to say it, and he taught me about the brand.
That's so lovely. How long did you wear the coat for?
Oh, years.
Years, yeah.
God, forever.
Because it's interesting, because this was something we talked about in yesterday's discussion, but there is this element of with something like Comme, because it's so hyper creative, it's completely seasonal in a sense. You don't ever look at this as being actually anything to do with what's going on this season. It's just in its own little creative box. Should we have a look at some more of the collection?
And I think that's what's really nice about it. It's never really trend-led. It just is amazing sculptural pieces.
But then it's interesting because occasionally it does just capture the zeitgeist so perfectly, like that flat collection. I know so much was made of whether that was a comment on like the internet and all that kind of stuff, but there's always this element where it can be what it is.
Easy. That's wearable, Richard.
That is.
I love it to become
you can
comfortable.
see you in that, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could see you in that for sure.
And I can see a bit more what's going on the head.
It's definitely some kind of bonnet type hat.
A bit of a pomage.
What do you think the inspiration for this one is?
Do we have anything on the inspiration of Twitter or anything like that, Maren? Just chat. Yeah, that'd be grand. Let's keep looking.
Yeah, keep looking.
We can try and guess, and then we'll invariably get it wrong. That'll be part of the game of the panel.
Something about flowers.
That's deep. That's really deep.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Right.
Do you like the
Birds?
shoes, Julia?
Yeah, I love
the inspiration was the infinity of tailoring.
Of course
Whoa!
it was.
And flowers.
And flowers.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I can't actually remember who said it, but someone said, you never know what you're going to expect when you go to a Comme show. But it's interesting because we also said on the flip side, there are such signatures and there's always this element that runs through. How does this sort of sit in what we've become to know as the Comme codes? God, I hate that phrase, code.
It's perfectly exactly as what we'd come to expect if we could expect something.
It's really deep.
I think it's just... it's funny you said that because I was thinking about this on my way here, and I was thinking, it's kind of a cliche to turn around and say, well, you never know what to expect from Comme. You kind of do know what to expect because you know that you're not going to get a Calvin Klein minimal look going down the runway. You expect something more extreme. And I always find it quite odd when people say, yeah, you don't know what to expect. You kind of do know what you're gonna get. It's like going to a Westwood show and thinking, I wonder what it's going to be. You sort of know what it's going to be. And I think that's what's brilliant about Comme. Like you said, it's trans-seasonal. It's not trend-led. It just is.
But that's interesting because it contrasts with what we were, I thought it was very telling that you mentioned Prada as a stand-up from the season, because that's another example of a kind of a great female designer that people often put on a pedestal of being incredibly intelligent, incredibly relevant, incredibly witty as well. But with Prada, I think there's definitely, you don't know what to expect.
No, I think it's more true of Prada. I think because the signature changes every single season. Was, you know, there will be small elements that will remain, and you can sort of see its product. But I think with Comme, there's just so much more of an identity season after season.
You know what, when you said the infinity of tailoring, it's so interesting because what she's done is taken tailoring and then expanded it almost into another dimension, and working with all sorts of, like, all those whirls going around the arm, just working with, like, the energy and the dimensions around the thing and blowing it up, and you know, it's really interesting. I love that jacket, by the way.
Like Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
About that one.
It strikes me as a collection that would be easier to buy and to sell. I don't know if you're getting that from it at all. Like,
yeah,
some of those jackets.
No. I think it's actually quite. For them, more commercial. I mean.
It's really ironic that comes out.
Just shut your mouth. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, kill me now. Yeah, there are pieces in it that are, you know, really more commercial than I've seen. I've seen collections that are completely out there. But I really like it.
What was the point where you stopped selling Comme as the actual clothing other than the accessories?
Well, you know, I don't think it's a closed book on that, because we really love it. We love Junior. Oh, we're starting with Comme Play now.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
So that's coming into the shop now. So that's just such an easy way. But, you know, I always like to look at Comme, and it's not a closed book, and I'd love to have it in the shop again. I think there was a time when people just didn't understand it at all, and it was so difficult, and if I wasn't there to explain it and actually put it on the person and style it up, it was very hard for people to get it. It was just one step too far. But I actually think the world has changed, and people are more open now. It's kind of like a green eggs and ham thing, you know.
When was that? Because I wanted to ask you this actually about that change in the way people approach clothing now.
I think it was around the recession, where the people began to be much more cautious and kind of, you know, spendthrift. Like, they would want to buy pieces that they could update again and again and again, that wouldn't be recognized over and over, instead of just buying great pieces, which is what this is about. These are pieces, don't get me wrong. They wanted to buy things that were a little bit safer, that they could use, because it was a scary climate for people. So they would like things with a little bit of an edge, but not too much. But so I think, you know, a lot of buyers and a lot of retailers had to rethink. I mean, unless you're Dover Street Market, where you know, the world is your oyster, and that is their world. You know, realistically, you had to think differently. What are people out there wanting to buy? So, but then editorially, that's completely different. It's a whole different world for you.
One thing I wanted to ask Brix was, when you go to do your buying appointments, I know a lot of designers will often do a separate collection for selling. Did you find that Comme would ever tone down some of the pieces, or was it just this is it?
No, what you see here is the main catwalk pieces, which is what they are. But within this collection, there are different versions and toned down versions and lesser versions hanging in there. There will be however many 30 looks that are there. But then within that, there will be other ways to wear it. So yes, you can buy into it in an easier way.
Well, that's a really good example of that. We've just seen that's a much more pared down version of a trouser than we saw on the look before. You mentioned editorially, and I thought that this raised a really interesting question for you guys, which is whether is there more freedom in styling and shooting now? Because I think off the top of my head, it seems like such a creative time, but I don't know if that's just me kind of really liking the magazines I see.
Weirdly, in some ways it is, but then in other ways, going back to this fashion snobbery, there's so many brands now that are insisting you shoot a full look.
Full look, yeah.
And I just think that limits so much. It's like, you know, then putting brands next to each other within a story. If you're doing a full look, it can just sometimes look so weird.
It stops you being creative as well. Styling is all about the way that you put things together and take things from here and there, and you make like a sculpture with it, a visual sculpture on the page. And to have someone like dictate, you will do this whole thing. Everything must be Marc Jacobs. You know, it's not you normally, I wouldn't walk out head to toe Miu Miu. I just wouldn't.
It's strange. We had this, someone said something so similar on another panel we did, which they say people are dressing in a far more eclectic way, which goes back to what you were saying, Brix, about how people select, a piece that's going to work with them from season to season. And I think it is really rare to see someone wear head to toe one designer now, and that's kind of a really nice thing about the decade we're in now compared to something like the 90s where everything was a lot more logo-tastic. But then we're not, in some magazines, we're not seeing that reflected in the styling. It's almost, we're meant to be getting the inspiration from the magazines, but actually maybe that's why the street seems more exciting now.
Street's so exciting now.
I don't know if do you think that is because of the freedom that you get there?
I mean, it's a way for people to express their personalities, show their artistic freedom by the way they put things together, and it tells you so much about the person by how they've put it together. And sometimes you see people like Fran Burns or Michelle Zhang, who are total style icons of me, and they've just put things together. It's so great, and you get excited when you see them, and I just love that. And that's what you do in your magazine.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you get around it really well. Your stuff never feels, like
it's amazing. Your magazine.
Yeah, I think we give a lot of freedom to stylists.
Yeah,
so
that really comes across.
Yeah, it's just go away, do something nice, and people really appreciate that. And it is rare. It is rare. But yeah, it's just the one thing that I think I find a bit sad about the industry, like this shoot a full look. And I know I keep going on about it, but I just think it almost stifles things sometimes.
Yeah, it really hinders talent, doesn't it? You think a great designer would want to see their stuff worn in an incredible way, worn in an interesting way.
Also for TV, there's a lot of designers that won't lend at all to TV. If they know you're doing, oh my God, the axe comes down. They don't want it on TV.
Why is that?
I don't know. Well, I know that there was a show that I used to do where they didn't, it was Garcons Fashion Fix, and they didn't want, and I had to do designer and put it against High Street, and they didn't want their brand damaged, quite rightly so, against him, but if they had lent it all to me, I would have beat him every time, So yeah, they're really, and then I know from other PR companies that there's certain people that just absolutely shut it down. They do not, Dolce & Gabbana do not lend for TV, at all. So, and also there's a whole thing about selling on the internet as well. Do you all know about this?
No.
So basically, it used to be that we could go and buy a brand, let's say Isabel Marant, for instance, commercial brand. And so we buy it for the store, and they give you a minimum to buy for the store, so you have to spend a certain amount and buy it. And then you could put it on your website, and then you could sell it. So you would spend a lot of money buying a whole thing, but you sell it on the web. And then people started to say, can't sell it on the web. Net has an exclusive, or...
Selena's not sold online on Matches, but you can get it in stores.
Exactly. So this is happening more and more and more and more with so many brands. And it's really difficult as a buyer because you can't buy so much into it because you only have this one venue to sell it now. And so again, people don't want, I guess, their brand diffused all over the web. They want to you can understand it in some ways. You want to control it because the web there is no control unless you clamp down. And I remember when we used to sell Miu Miu, Miu Miu took their brand away from everybody except their own stores and their own concessions. And I remember having a conversation with the people that own Matches, and Miu Miu threatened us legally if we didn't take it off the website. So, and then it was
And that's just that control element again that we were talking about, it's because I think it's so easy for something to very quickly become off message, and it goes back to this the Harry Styles thing. I love how he's become a real figure in this panel discussion. But it goes back to that idea it's so hard to control something when it's on the web, whether that's in an e-commerce context or whether it's social media or something.
I feel if it's good enough to sell in your store, because every brand vets each store, and so they Start, and Start's a great store, then it's good enough to sell on our website because that's part of us. That's what we do. But it's not the way. It's
we're a dinosaur industry. People are scared of the internet completely. I always find this.
Well, look what it did to the music industry until now. When everything started, everyone started downloading everything, and the whole music industry nearly went belly up. But now I guess downloads are now selling more than singles and albums ever did, or something. I just read. So it's a whole new world.
A new world. Should we see more Comme?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Julia, on the collection so far?
I'm
Are you
loving
shopping?
it. No, I love it. I'm shopping. It's quirky. It's yeah.
I love it. With a collection like this, it's just really like
it's good. It's good fun. I like the hair or the hat. It's a bit hard to see though.
It is.
I love to see tailoring in such a kind of like vagabondy context.
That's lovely. That.
Let's have a shoe discussion
I would
here.
wear that.
Yeah, let's talk about the shoes.
Let's talk
Julia.
about the shoes.
You're a fan of a clumpy shoe,
I
aren't
like
you?
a clumpy shoe. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I know you always tell me off about it.
Where's this ugly shoe phenomenon thing come from? Because like Fran Burns wrote a great piece in, I think it was Fran in Vogue quite recently, about, you know, how she like just loves like a really hideous, ugly, like a Prada shoe. You know, where's that come from? Is it that, because we talked a bit about peacock dressing on women, you know, this idea of women dressing purely for other women, that's that man repeller thing of like, you know, a guy would look at it and be like, what the fuck is that? But other women would be like, she's wearing the Pradas.
Yeah.
And do you think it is part of that competitive dressing, a clumpy shoe, or is that being unfair to women? Do they just like a good brogue?
I think when we say clumpy, I think even heavier than a brogue. I think, you know, I think it's been coming for a while, you know.
Are we talking like a brothel creeper type thing, or are we talking about a pimp shoe, or like a boot? A boot for a club foot. Are we talking, how far are we going? Surgical? What?
But saying that, the Charles and the Stars boots are almost a bit club.
Yeah, they are. But they're so good.
Yeah, they're
are
so
they
good.
comfortable?
I've never
Oh
tried
my
them myself, Julia.
I was thinking,
I've never
"Gee,
tried them
those?"
either. I've never tried
I
them
can't.
either.
I'll break my neck.
But I mean, there is a degree. I mean, these ones in the Comme show, they look very comfortable, don't they? So you can stomp around in
They also
those
look
a bit.
super
couldn't you?
unisex as well.
Yeah.
Like almost
Down
like
the disco.
Yeah.
down
But
to Eastern
I
Bloc.
like a little bit of height, so I never actually go for a full
Clump.
Flat.
flat.
Do you think it is this, because we've talked a lot about
Look
what's
at that, that's
sexy
lovely.
now.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine, it's fine. We've talked about like what women find sexy and how women want to dress and what's seen as feminine, and this idea of, you know, modesty being sexy and deliberate ugliness being sexy. And I'm interested to get your opinion on sort of how women want to present themselves as women. Do they still, is the notion of looking appealing to a man still sort of in anyone's mind when they're dressing? It's got really deep. We've moved from shoes
I think
to
there's a number of factors here. I think it really depends on the individual and what kind of look they're going for. Like if you are going for that sort of, you know, real Barbie doll look, then you will home into that area, right?
Yeah.
You know, so if you're going for this more another sort of, it's just as stylised in a way.
Do you find shoppers at start, do they come and do they want to look like nice little cocktail dress and a heel?
It depends on the occasion for which they're shopping, you know. So I had a girl today that wanted to have a little lovely dress to wear to her cousin's wedding in Capri. So it was a certain look. And then she wanted something for sexy going out, you know. Then she wanted a great sexy jean. So it so depends on, you know, it's never a generalization. They have a need and the clothes fulfill their need. And so they tell us what it is and then we sort it out. But there are these amazing Sonia silver metallic brothel creepers that came in today that are so cute. And a little pop star girl with tall skinny legs, really pretty girl, came and bought them, and she looked so cute, and she was so skinny like a beanpole with these quite clumpy silver metallic brothel creepers, and it was a great style and it looked sexy and it's the kind of thing a girl would see on another girl and be like, oh man, that's a great look, and men would say she looks fun, you know.
So it all boils down to the individual, really.
But it seems like there's more choice to be sort of individual with the fashion that we're seeing at the moment, especially if you look at London, like, you know, the J.W. Anderson girl is so different to the Simone Rocha girl, so different to Louise Gray girl. There's so much choice for women in terms of how they want to present themselves, which is, I think, is so exciting.
But you could be all those girls.
Yeah, but you could put them all in your closet.
At different times of the day or different needs. I would like to be every one of them.
I think you just look at somebody like Lulu Kennedy and she can do every single one of those looks.
Yeah, she can look smoking hot and she can look really, really cool.
Yeah,
and she puts all those looks together in a really effortless way. I think that's a sort of key. You know, just looking like, it's just, that's you're exuding an effort.
Owning the look.
Owning the look.
And none of those looks take away from her either. When she wears them, she's still so Lulu.
Yeah.
She makes those looks work for her, and it just enhances the Lulu effect.
The Lulu effect.
Yeah.
Take note.
But it's that weird thing, you know, she could wear a really reconstructed, crazy Louise Gray number.
Yeah.
Then you could see the next day and she could be an amazing Richard Nicol tailoring or a beautiful Christopher Kane twin set or something, whatever. But she always looks amazing, and I think, you know, it's nice that there's so much choice now for
I like her best naked and tanned on a beach with her hair tangled from the sun and a beer in her hand.
Could this like a tribute to Lulu Kennedy?
Yeah.
Is she naked?
In my mind.
Oh, right.
Yeah. No, it's
I'm
nothing
sure
like
she's
that.
got her knickers on.
She has a bikini bottom, okay. No, but she's like,
Like
to
to
me.
think of it, really.
Oh no, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just looking at her as she's like literally a beautiful creature.
She is.
to
She's
look
so
upon.
beautiful.
Yeah, and that's all. She is, and she's so natural. You know?
Gorgeous.
So.
I feel like we should have a moment's respect for Lulu Kennedy now. Like hand on heart love for her there.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see some more of the clothes.
This is a nice lace number we just missed.
Okay, let's
let's
discuss
go back
this.
to
And I love that.
I want to discuss this one.
What
Richard,
I know what. I've got one.
tell me.
Would like say you've got, oh yeah, I love that. I'm going to buy that for my shop. How would you display it? Has it got hanger appeal? Do you have to think of those things?
Yes, of course. That would have zero hanger appeal. It would be a repellent.
How would you display it?
Well,
it would just have to be in the middle. It would have to be on a mannequin, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, on a mannequin. It's styled up and separated. You could do it like, let's say you had like a great easy pink jean that would go with it, that you put normal stuff underneath the jacket, and then people can relate it to like normal stuff. Or you do it like a great top with the trousers, but you would have to break it up. I mean, for us, I mean, it's a shame to say it. I love it like this, but
do you not think there's something to be said about putting it all together and just being so sort of
bold.
in your face about it?
Yeah.
I like in my heart, I wish I could do that because I love it. I love it like this. And maybe in the window you would do it because this would be a window piece.
Yeah,
this is the
it's
cherry on top of the pile. This is the icing on the cake. And when you do buy into a brand like Comme, you would buy a piece like that for the window because that just says the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yes, that would be the way to display it in the window, full on, all light shining, you know, bells and whistles, woo, 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 you know, down Rivington Street.
Oh, there's another one.
There's one for Richard.
It's well damage. It's amazing.
Very white legs.
Yes,
It's quite Pierrot clown, isn't it? The you know, really old-fashioned.
Yeah, the clown effect.
Yeah, the clown effect. Also, the other thing that I'm getting is that actually it's a series of installations in actual fact. Each costume is a costume.
Well, they're works of art and they're costumes.
Yeah.
They are definitely costumes, but wearable when you separate them. For me, but I wish I could. I wish I
We're
could
really revving up
be
on the
free
colour
enough to
here.
wear that.
I can see
Oh,
you.
look at that. We're really revving up.
How would you like to see that? Would you like to see that in an editorial? Is that sort of one of those looks where you think, you know, that's gonna? How do you know when you see a piece that that's gonna be like the look that is everywhere for? You know how like we've had all the Saint Laurent and all the Vuitton on the covers of the magazines. What is it about something that you're just like that's gonna be shot for everyone? You don't know. Do you not get a vibe
You
from
have an
things and think my kids will love
instinctual
this, they'll want to style it?
Instinctual feeling.
That's inspirational to me. That makes me go crazy with what you could do editorially with that.
But I don't think it's going to be one of the season's like key pieces. I don't think it's going to be that piece that you see on every cover.
But how do you know what that piece is? Does that tend to be a commercial?
I don't know. I think we're going to see Prada on every cover this season. I really think that's the collection.
That's interesting.
For me.
I think you're right. I do think you're right.
And the shoes
And like,
are good,
as soon as
yeah.
I saw Vuitton, you know, the black and white thing, you just knew it was so brilliant.
It's interesting. Is that our closing look? Oh, that's our closing look.
Is it?
What a worthy closing look as well.
Wow, yeah.
So what's our sort of gut reaction to the collection? We've all seemed to really enjoy it. It doesn't strike me as one that's going to get everyone kind of as animated as something like the Flat collection, or is that just me being a bit preemptive? We haven't had a chance for everyone to react. What's our gut?
I mean, I just think it's a classic Comme collection. I think, it's, I wouldn't say it's the best Comme collection I've ever seen, but everything that Comme do is kind of great,
Excuse me.
Is that your summary?
Did you hear that? Oh no.
I almost felt it.
Oh dear.
Brix, what's your
A rumble from within. Actually, that's how I would sum that up. A rumble from within.
God, I think that's actually such a brilliant note. We're going to have to end on that.
No.
What better way to end it? Brix, what do you think?
I mean, I actually think it's a much more commercial collection than I've seen for a while, but still totally Comme. And I really love it, and I really love what she's done with the tailoring, and I actually find it inspirational to look at. I really like it a lot, and it's made me happy. We've had a brilliant laugh. We've had some intellectual conversation. It's just worked on so many levels.
And now let's have some cake. So should we give her a round of applause?
Yeah!
Thank you so much.